What's up, guys? Kelly McKay here, aka HVAC Millionaire, right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, hit the like button, and leave me a comment below. Today, I want to talk about stress because a lot of people right now in the HVAC space are under a tremendous amount of stress, and that's because business has picked up tremendously. Maybe you're prepared for it, maybe you aren't. If you aren't, then you're feeling extra stress. And maybe something just happened too. Like I coach people, and things can happen in the business that are unexpected. And when those unexpected things happen, it can leave you feeling extremely stressed. Maybe you got so many jobs going on, so much work that's sold, and you're just not sure how you're going to get to it all. Maybe your phone just keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. You're already getting tired, and we're not even 1 month into the summer season, right? And you're stressing about that. Maybe stressing because, man, I don't want to wear out before I make the most out of this season. Like, there's a tremendous amount of things that we stress about. So this type of stress, when you're juggling too many things, and anytime we juggle too many things, it's very easy to start dropping things. And what happens when we drop something? Well, the customer's calling upset. Maybe we forgot to order that part for Mrs. Jones, and now Mrs. Jones is upset for that. Maybe you did order the part, but the supply house told you it was going to be in here today, and it didn't show up on the truck. And you've got Mrs. Jones calling that you promised her you would get her fixed today. Like, maybe you've got employees that are already getting grumpy because they've been working their tails off ever since we had this first sign of warmer weather. Maybe you've got, I don't know how many maintenance agreements, and you're so busy running no cool calls that you can't get to all the maintenance agreements. So you're stressing out about that. So all of these things can cause what's called distress. There's two types of stress. There's distress and eustress. So let me explain eustress real quick, just to give you an example. So the distress is what I just talked about. You've got all these things coming at you from multiple angles. You're not sure how you're going to get to it all. You feel overwhelmed. And it starts weighing on you, and maybe you're having trouble sleeping at night, or you're waking up in the middle of the night and your mind starts racing. You can't go back to sleep. Maybe it's affecting your relationships at home because you've got so much weight on your shoulders. Okay, that is distress. Now, eustress is something that you actually added yourself to get moving again. That's how I like to define it. So think of it like this. I'll tell you a quick story. There's a guy, he gets a brand new truck. He drives up into the mountains. He doesn't live far, from the mountains. He drives up into the mountains and he pulls off to the side of the road, like right here. Like, he pulls off just facing forward, pulls off to the side of the road. And he just gets out and he just got out of the house just so he could go play in his new truck, right? And all of a sudden it starts snowing. And he's just enjoying his time up there in the mountains. He has no cell service, and it starts snowing, and it's snowing hard. But he's kind of prepared for it. He dressed warm, and he's just really enjoying the scenery and just looking at his new truck sitting over there at the side of the road. Well, he finally decides it's starting to get late. I better get home. Jumps in his truck, finds that the truck is stuck. Maybe the ground was a little soft. Then the snow added on top of that, he gets stuck on the side of the road. And he can't call anybody for help, and it's a sparsely populated region, so there's not like there's a bunch of traffic going by. So he's there, and he tries to rock the truck back and forth, throwing it in drive, throwing it in reverse, throwing it in drive, throwing it in reverse, and it's just not working. And so he decides, man, I got to do something. So he walks off into the woods, and all of a sudden he starts grabbing wood, like dead wood. And he grabs the heaviest logs he can find, and he comes and he just loads that truck up, loads the back of the truck up. And after an hour of just working, just loading the truck up, he jumps back in the truck, throws it into drive, and pulls right out. That would be called eustress. That's stuff that you piled on top of yourself to get you moving forward. It's a very healthy stress, and you have to have some of it in your life if you're going to achieve anything in life. But distress is something different. Now, you can get some distress from all the eustress that you piled on yourself. One of my mentors always says, intention or disruption always follows intention. So maybe you had good intentions, like we're going to market the crap out of our business. We're going And all of a sudden now you're getting a lot more business. And if that's the case, then you might not be prepared for that. You didn't think about all the other things that come with doing more business and your capability as a business to deliver that service. So when it comes to distress, this is the bad kind of stress. This is the stress that's going to, could possibly give you a heart attack if you don't take care of it. If you don't find ways to do some self-care, to make sure you're okay, to put your oxygen mask on first so that you can continue to serve your customers, maybe serve your team, and still be present and polite when you're home with your wife or spouse. So distress, this is a cognitive behavioral therapy. This is actually like a worksheet, and it's called the AAA. So let's talk about it. So the first thing we have to do when we're overwhelmed and we're in stress mode, I'm talking about distress, we've got to acknowledge. We've got to acknowledge the facts. Acknowledge the facts. What are the facts? Maybe a customer's complaining because you haven't been back out to replace that fan motor, but it was a special order fan motor, and the supply house told you it was going to be in yesterday, and it didn't show up on the truck. And now you're still waiting today to find out if it's going to show up on today's truck. And then you find out it doesn't, right? This happens to all of us. If you're in business long enough, this is going to happen to you. And so if there's this type of stress, now I've got to call Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Smith, whoever, and tell them that I apologize. I'm not going to be able to fix your unit again today. It's not my fault. It's not my supply house's fault. Like we're at the mercy of the supply house. That's all we can, or at the mercy of the shipping company or the manufacturer shipping the part out. So that make sure it eventually gets to you. So whatever the case, this is stress. And maybe there's 6 other things going on at the same time. Like you're supposed to be home at 6 tonight, and you just got 2 more emergency calls. They're units that you just installed within the last 6 months. And you just feel this obligation to go fulfill and make sure that you take care of these customers that trusted you and gave you $8,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to install their system, right? So when this happens, we got to just, when things like this happen, we have to acknowledge the facts. The fact is you're doing everything you can do. And Art Williams, he always says, all you can do is all you can do. And as long as you're doing all you can do, it's enough. So acknowledge the facts. Is everything that you're doing enough? Because you're only in control of so many things. So you've got to first stop on this AAA's exercise, acknowledge the facts. The next thing is just to accept. And when I'm talking about accept, I'm talking about like you've got to see the situation from outside of yourself. Like objectively, take yourself out of the picture. Look at the situation. This gives you a new perspective, a new angle to see what's going on with this situation, right? And I want you to just not judge. Like, don't judge it. Take yourself out of the picture. Don't judge it. It just is what it is. That's another one of my favorite sayings, because some things just are what they are. So if it is what it is, then just accept it. Accept it. That's all there is to it. Just accept it. Just don't give it any personal meaning, and don't make any future projections. So you might be projecting like, yeah, this supply house is always doing this to me. Like if this is going to be the way they're going to act all the time, I'm going to have to find a new supply house, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's future predictions. That's probably not even true. They're at the mercy of the manufacturer or their supplier to get that part in this example. So just accept. Acknowledge the facts and just accept the facts, whatever the facts are, which can be really hard for people, even though it seems so simple. And then the third A in the AAA exercise is to act appropriately. So now that I've realized in this scenario that I've given you that I've done everything I can do, right? All I can do is all I can do. And as long as I'm doing all I can do, it's enough. And it is what it is. It is what it is. Whatever it is, if you're doing all you can do, then it is what it is. So there's no reason to sit here and play this loop in our mind over and over again about what if this, what if that. That hasn't even happened yet. So act appropriately. So what is acting appropriately? Let me see what they say on this worksheet here. They say Instead of using ineffective strategies like avoidance or ineffective communication, or maybe self-harm, which is going to be more like you're damaging yourself, giving yourself high blood pressure because you've got all these negative thoughts rolling around in your head. Take effective and appropriate action. So face the situation, effective communication, and self-soothe. Like those phrases that I just gave you are self-soothing phrases, which is all I can do is all I can do. And as long as I'm doing all I can do, it's enough. Just keep telling yourself that, right? And then it is what it is. Another, like I said, one of my favorite sayings. So acknowledge the facts, accept those facts because they're facts. No reason to question them. And then act appropriately. Don't blow this thing out of proportion. Don't make it more than it is, because it is what it is. Love you guys. Go make money. Boom. Keep your stress levels down.